What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm fine, everything is good. Hope you too.
Yeah, everything's doing fantastic today. Had the son, took him to school, got some editing done
Perfect.
today, and yeah, back at home relaxing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. I gotta say, and I think probably a lot of people told you that maybe I really like your style. First of all, that hat and the mustache, that's really cool vintage style. I don't know from 1800 or so, but
Yeah,
that's really dope. Yeah, yeah. You
yeah,
see,
man, I
people already
appreciate
miss
it.
you.
What up,
You're very
Meeks?
welcome.
No, yeah, I don't know, man. Just one day I decided to grow it, and I kind of lost this, so I kind of came up with my own style here, and yeah, and I found this hat one day, and it's just been stuck with me
That's
ever
cool.
since. Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw that hat, it's like because today exactly here in Germany we have Carnival, and I know people probably know what Carnival is. It's kind of the same like in Brazil with the street carnival, but here in Germany it's a little bit crazy. They drink all the time, and then the highlight is really in February they have a street carnival where they throw candies on the street for kids and stuff like that. And especially my city where I live, it's crazy. It's like a fifth, you know, holiday or fifth time of the year, so it's really crazy how they
No, that's
escalate and then
fantastic. That's
yeah,
so
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, they wear
Yeah.
different costumes and everything. That's basically what happened today. And but yeah, I'm not really into that. I gotta focus on my things, right?
No, no,
But I
no. I
appreciate
I
you.
get I definitely respect the grind, but yeah, that's super cool to hear that, you guys had your celebration today. I'm sure it was plenty of fun and
Yeah,
definitely
there was
busy in the
this
area.
the city was packed. Like when Carnival is like people who really celebrate that they're all dressed in different costumes, they drink so much alcohol. They're so crazy. The ladies like they would jump on top of you probably immediately. Like that's so easy how they all act at the time. It's really crazy. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
100%, yeah. But I really appreciate you for taking the time, and I would just say we can start. Tell people who you are and a little bit about your background.
No, absolutely. So what's up, everybody? My name's Edward Martinez. Everybody calls me Eddie. So I got into martial arts definitely young in my age. I probably started Taekwondo actually, which is really cool that when I met you
Yeah,
and saw that we relate on that level. I actually started at the age of 6 and went all the way to about 18 years old, and then kind of like started the work atmosphere and
it's
you know
awesome.
started hanging out with friends and doing all that. But I definitely progressed and learned a lot of discipline and basics in martial arts through that, and I definitely am grateful for all that. And since then, I've always wanted to kind of get back. And I stopped at 18. I got to a progression where I started teaching a lot at the age of 18. And once you get to that black belt level, you start instructing a lot
Yeah,
as well. So I kind of got to a point where I got like complacent to where I was, and I wanted to just learn new things and get out in the world. And so I got a job at Universal Studios and started meeting different people from all over the world, which fascinated me. And I just there was always something there that wanted to get me back into MMA. So kind of picked up a camera and realized
it's
that
really cool.
one day, like you're saying, like tonight, I'm sure everybody's doing over there in Germany. I was drinking, watching UFC with my friends. I'm one of those that tend to host the party and bring everybody over.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's my thing. And one day I hear, from Popco, Florida, Alex Nicholson, and I was like, wait, I went to school there. Like, that's crazy. So then I started realizing that people in my environment were already successful and made it to that level. So I was like, man, like, what am I scared of? Why don't I just start using my camera and start trying to, get in a gym maybe and start learning and getting out from just portraits and things like that. So I messaged Platinum Mike Perry, which also went to my high school. So both of those UFC
that's so.
stars went there.
Yeah,
And he said, yeah, come to Fusion Excel over in the West Oaks Mall in Orlando, Florida. Big shout out to Fusion Excel. They've given me a lot of opportunity as well and allowing me to use their facility and grow with the MMA community. And, I've met some big stars over there. I've got to take photos with Jacare. So it was Julian Williams, the head coach, he's fantastic. The guy's so smart. He's a wild guy. He's so smooth when he's like doing his jujitsu and his grappling game. If you guys don't know who he is, definitely look up Julian Williams, J. Will. Fantastic guy. And once I got in that atmosphere, I started meeting some people, and I've definitely been able to make some great partnerships with them. Big
Yeah,
shout out, Mr. Dave Van Auken from FiveBananas.com. So I do photography for them now. So I took
it's
all
awesome.
that time, and now I found a home where I could solidify, where to put my product out, and, try to get that news out. Because something huge about my craft that I enjoy is being able to put these photos out for those, especially the amateur fighters. Because once you're, established and professional, um, all that comes with, yeah, everybody wants to take your picture at that time. But,
That's true. Yeah.
when you're working a full-time job, and, you're taking care of your kids, and you're still an amateur and nobody knows who your name is, only in your local area, like, those photos matter a lot. And will definitely, in due time, do more at earlier stage in their career. So that I love working with the amateur fighters, and getting to show the world who they are as well. Yeah,
That's really dope. I mean, you kind of have a similar story. I don't know if you know him, Jimmy Grease. He's one of the news reporter, also always in the UFC fights, and normally when the big fights, he really made it also to Dana White and had a couple times personal interviews with him. And he also started out like that, 10, 11 years ago when Cain Velasquez was just a champ. He started out interviewing and taking pictures of all these amateurs. With him it's like you had Mike Perry. With him it was Calvin Gastelum, basically from the
yeah,
same area, from really when they were basically just out of college. And that's so cool when you have these connection with somebody who just starts. And I think, and that's why I also like to have sometimes these amateur or pros who just start on my podcast, because I have basically a whole gym they're interviewing these people, because it's so cool to hear these stories and their journey, and also when you see what they can do, how far they can get. And tomorrow I have also um, Chris Quiroz on my podcast. With him it's the same. He just won his belt, and it's
that's
so
awesome.
cool to see the transition. And then okay, they have it to be in the UFC, because I had also a couple of UFC coaches on my podcast as well, like John Hackleman or Ray Thompson, Dewey Cooper. So they definitely know what's up, and they all told me a lot of things. So with the time, you kind of see who can make it, who has maybe the potential to be good in the UFC. And that's why I think it's very cool sometimes not to just go to the pros or the very best, or like, because everybody wants to catch these high level or like the best of the best, like all the UFC champions. And that's cool and it's awesome. But I think sometimes start with the other people as well, because they will appreciate you eventually when they get to this level.
Oh no, absolutely, and that's a huge thing with the MMA community, and I'm sure you realize, we're all like a huge family. We're all big fans,
It's true, yeah.
because as much as it's an individual sport, but it's not an individual team. There's nobody that I
Yeah,
know of, that can tell me they've made it to championship level with no coach, no training, no help,
it's
right?
true.
So there is a team, whether it's the guy that's part of your team that does muscle recovery, maybe something like that, or your
True, yeah.
nutritionist. That guy plays a huge factor in you making
100%.
weight. Obviously you have your coach. You probably have multiple coaches. One's gonna have a higher strength than somewhere, and everybody will speak their piece at that moment. And I love that. I love that. Like me, I would maybe speak my piece on someone's leg game, but I'm not going to tell them how to wrestle whatsoever. You know what I mean? But that's why the
Yeah,
community is good. I can give my strength and help that fighter, even if it's 1%, give that, percent to their arsenal as well. And another thing to touch on about the amateur, or, someone that's at the beginning of their professional career, someone that I randomly got to take photos of on the last minute notice. I don't know if you know who, my homie Mike Davis, Beast Boy
yeah,
Mike
yeah.
Davis. So when he fought Gilbert Burns at 55, that, like, I think it was an 8-day notice fight or something. I was at Fusion Excel. I think the second time I was there that weekend, and I met him. And I didn't even know who
That's
this kid
awesome.
was. And I'm like taking photos, and I'm like, oh my God, look at this kid do damage. And I'm like, this kid is going to be the champion. And I met him on that one day, and I said, this kid will be champion. And like, I'm huge friends with him. He lives over in South Miami right now. Huge shout out Mike Davis. But that guy, if you guys don't know who he is, that guy is
Yeah,
he's
he's
gonna make
definitely
it. And
awesome.
then
Yeah,
I have like Kat Nelson. You had her on your
yeah,
show.
yeah. Cat's
Big
awesome.
shout out. And
She's my
basically
champ, basically. I always tell her that, and she starts to realize that also
it's
more and more.
lights
Yeah,
out, baby. It's lights
yeah.
out, Kat Nelson. That's our girl. So yeah, I love her, and I to be able to see her whole development. I want to say that was around the same exact time that I was
Hmm.
joining Fusion Excel and just being able to take photos there is when Kat basically joined Fusion. So I've seen Kat
Yeah.
develop from day one to where she is now. You know what I mean? So I'm like, every time I see her in the ring,
So
it's
yeah.
like I feel like it's my sister, and it's like I start sweating, and I'm like, here we go. Woo, woo, woo. It's like I
Yeah.
get to take my own deep breath in, because it's like, we build these connections with these fighters, and even if it's on TV,
True.
it's like we see them go, and where it's like we feel like we're walking into the ring. I'm
100%.
sure you
Yeah.
feel the same about some fighters, yes?
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, especially when it was like almost 2 weeks ago when Glover Teixeira was fighting. Like, Glover Teixeira is John Hackleman's guy, and I had John Hackleman 7 times on the podcast. And it's crazy, with the time last year, August, I had my first podcast with John Hackleman, and this time he didn't even know me. I knew him, of course, because he was Chuck Liddell's coach, and so most of the UFC people who follow MMA UFC, they're familiar with him. And when you hang
Right.
around guys like Chuck Liddell and John Hackleman, they're definitely different. It's not that they're nice and everything, but it can get intimidating for you if you don't know who these people are. And then I thought, with our first podcast last year, oh, what if I tell some things and they're not really right? Because I mean, I have good knowledge about martial arts, but he's a legend. But and then it was so good, even our first episode, and he immediately at the end of our first episode told me, "You're a good podcaster," and coming from a legend like him and his age, also like with 60 at this time, to tell me these things, it's definitely. And I thought, okay, wow, maybe I have it. Maybe there's something I can, work with. And then now we are so good. We have great connection, and 7 times already podcast together. That's crazy. And then he tells me, like, you're part of the Ohana, you're part of the family. Like, that's really the best when somebody tells you these things, and I'm sure for you it's the same when you have these people. And then of course you feel it, because I really wanted, obviously, Glover to win for multiple reasons, but also because he just turned 42, and at this age, if he lost that fight, probably that would be it for champion, title fight or chance. That would be basically his last chance, and he took it. It was just incredible.
Yeah, that's a huge thing for us,
Yeah,
and for the future of MMA. It shows somebody that also maybe what it is for somebody at that age is maybe a break. You know what I mean? Maybe they're not going to
true.
be the Cowboy Cerrone that fights 4 times in a year, maybe. You know what I mean? But I don't need Glover to do that much physical damage
Me
four
too, yeah.
times in a year. But if Glover 1 time a year can defend that title and look good doing it, I mean, there's nothing to be said about that. I don't think
True.
he at that age needs to be rushing in per se, depending
100%,
on
yeah.
what happens in a fight. If he goes to war, then it doesn't need to happen in the next 3 months. Like, absolutely not. But I think that's something
100%,
that
yeah.
we've noticed during COVID as well. Is some fighters ended up getting a break, and that worked well
Hmm.
for some of them. Some of them were just kind of in the ring
Yeah.
too much and in the gym too much, and that time with their like family and maybe just focusing on the training gave them more opportunity now.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I think
funny,
it's so true. A
Glover.
lot
I
of them,
met
they rush
him. Oh,
so
I'm
hard
sorry, go.
into that. Yeah. No, no, it's all good. I think a lot of them, they rush too hard or too much into that, and that's why it was really good with Glover. Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, I'm huge. I'm so happy for him because I know that he's also been moving around, taking care of Alex,
Yeah.
and making sure Alex, did fantastic for his debut as well. And I know they're a great team. I know they actually came through and worked with the Fusion team, so when they were in Orlando, I actually got to meet the two of them. And it's
Oh, that's
crazy
awesome.
that like you see these guys on TV and they're monsters, right? And then
Yeah,
it's like you see them in person and it's like you could see how cool and how humble these fighters can be, and then like also the switch, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's crazy how like, maybe it's the moment of putting the glove on or the parking the car going into the training, but all of a sudden that switch happens and it's like, whoa, it's crazy to see when they turn
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. I mean, I'm very happy for you that you can experience that, live with a lot of these fighters. But that's why also I have to get as soon as possible when everything, eases down in the world. I have to get to America because all these coaches and fighters, many of them, they told me I have to come there and train with them. It's like too much. I feel like probably have to travel through whole America because they're all, spotted in different locations. A lot of them obviously in California, but still it seems like I have to really travel cross country for that. But that's the beauty about the podcast or connecting, especially these days, because back then, if you hadn't a big radio show or no big name would take you, that's it. These days you can create everything for yourself, and I mean it's for your craft as well. And how did you
Yep.
get into photography? Was it always your main job, or did you basically do that just for the fights?
Honestly, it was never. I just picked up the camera one day. I have a friend that works for Home Shopping Network. He works for NFL Films, and something we did for fun would be I live very close to the theme parks here in Orlando, so Disney and Universal are, let's say, best friends with me, right? Um, Back in the day, I was best friends with a Pluto out there, if you know, but so out there with the theme parks, and being so familiar with them, I used to take those as landscape opportunities to use them as backdrops instead of just having a normal at home photo shoot or something like that. So, me and my friends, all having annual passes or working in the parks, getting in free, we would just plan days to hang out, grab a drink, and get fantastic shots. The more and more I
That's
did
awesome.
this, I realized I had something going on. My friend that went to schooling for it started going over certain things that we printed out a couple of my photos, and he said, I want to talk to you about what you're doing in these photos. Why did you take those photos that way, and so on. And I talked about why I thought the cropping was the way I did it, why I edited some photos, why I didn't, because I like the rawness of just at the moment, if you will. um,
Yeah.
and he said, dude, I don't know if you realize this, but I went to schooling for this for years, and you're explaining everything the teachers were explaining to me over a course of time. So I'm a huge fan of YouTube University. And just, for some advice for any photographers out there, the big thing out there is go shoot. You're going to
Yeah.
develop a skill and who you are the more you photo. And it's not so much what I think your photo should look like or what maybe you think their photo should look like. They're going to find and create their own artistry through their photography, whether it's black and white, whether it's in color, whether it's removing some colors or brightening the others. Be yourself. And I think that's what's going to make you stand out. There's
Yeah.
tons of us out there, um, you know, and there's tons of opportunities all over the world. And sometimes you just got to kind of really dig for them. And sometimes it
Mhm.
starts with just asking for media access. And that
Yeah.
was a huge thing that I started with, was just asking for media access. Huge shout out to Combat Night in Orlando, Florida. And they travel all over the state of Florida. They've been going out of Florida recently. But Mitch gave me a huge opportunity and allowing me on my first like MMA event, media event. So I went as a
That's really cool.
photographer, and I know there's people out there that have years of experience, and I did my own thing, kept quiet. Hey, thank you, everybody. Nice to meet you. I got to meet all these people, stay professional, and then just turn in your work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people, if they like your work, they're going to like your work. And that's what I found
It's
out
yeah.
is the hardest part and the biggest no is probably our own doubt. Like
100%, yeah.
maybe like I've been thinking about doing podcasting, recently, and it's probably a little bump in the road that I'm a little scared to jump into, right?
Just
But
do it.
that's the other adventure, is if it's not a little scary, it's not fun, right?
Yeah, that's true. But also, I would say just do it because that's the thing. That's the case with all of us, but most people for sure. Like they overthink everything and so much. What can happen? What if I misspell something? What if my language is not the best? Whatever. And for me, when I started my podcast last year, January 6th, since then I really said, okay, I will upload every day an episode. Before that, October 2019, up to this point, I had like every week one episode, but it was not too consistent. And then I said, okay, now I know kind of how to do it. Now you have to do every day an episode. And then I said it and then I committed. And
Yeah.
then no matter what, I just have to do it. And sometimes I had podcasts at midnight. I finished 1 in the morning my time, slept 5 hours, 6 in the morning the next podcast if I couldn't make it work the other way. Sometimes I really have to do because here in Germany and America we have always between 6 and 9 hours difference. Depends Eastern time, 6 hours, and then the other time zones. I mean, you know
Right.
it. You can always add 1 or 2, 3 hours on top of that. But then I said, you know what? Just do it. That's it. Because what is the worst that can happen? People say no. Because the worst what can happen for people is always, okay, I can die. But can you die from a no of a guess? No, definitely not. So if they say no, good, no problem. The better for me. So then I can just move on to the next. That's what's holding up. Is a lot of people they say, yeah,
Did I lose
let's
you?
do it. No, I can still hear you and see you. Yeah, there we go. A lot of people they say, yeah, I want to, and they kind of play around too much, and that's really what I don't like. But that's why I also text 50 to 100 people a week,
I think I'm
and then
losing
you
you.
get all these people. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
I think I
Because
just
I can.
lost you.
Because I can still hear you and see you.
I
Okay,
can't
now
see
better.
you. I can't
Okay,
see you, and I can't really hear you.
okay, but okay, can you hear me now?
No.
Okay, let's see.
Let
It's
me see if
working
I
because
should I move?
I can still see you and hear you.
Unfortunately, it's like I can see me, but you're looking all choppy. I can't see. I
Okay,
can't see.
but you can hear me?
No,
Not
like
really.
I can
Okay.
hear you trying. I can hear you trying.
Okay, that's weird because I can really see him, guys, and hear him. Okay, let
See,
us
I'm
just
gonna
know.
try moving and see if that helps you.
Okay, maybe better
Go.
now.
Let's go outside to Florida weather and see if that helps you at all.
Okay, maybe that works now better.
Nah, man.
Okay, let's see. Maybe if he hops off quick and then again.
Do you want to recall me back?
Yeah, just get out and then I will just put you in again. Okay, I will text it in a text.
Phase
Yeah.
on.
Okay.
All right,
Let's see.
I'm gonna jump out and then I'll
Okay,
try to
yeah.
reconnect and see if that changes.
Okay, let's start. Let's do this. Okay, guys, so you heard the story, how I explain it with the podcast, basically, but that's really what you have to do. You just have to start and keep going. So let's see if it's working this time. Okay, because I could hear him perfect, saw him perfect. Maybe now it's better. Okay, better? Should work now,
Hello?
right? Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Nah, I see me, but unfortunately on your side, I just don't see anything.
Okay, that's very weird. Do you have
Oh, I
Wi-Fi
can
or...
kind of, I hear you better.
Okay, now better?
Yeah,
Can
I
you
can
hear me?
hear
Can
you
you see
better.
me? Okay, perfect. I think now it should work, right?
Yeah, there we go. I don't see you as clear, but I can hear you better.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. For me, it's like I can really see you and the connection is good. I can also hear you, but it's perfect. But yeah, what I really said is with the podcast, or it's just with everything. You say something, you commit, and then just do it. And that's about it because you basically did it. You did it with your photography, you did it with connecting with all these fighters, and then with the podcast, just the same. Just start doing some episodes, throw out some content, and then the rest will work.
Exactly. Yeah, and that was the big thing is once I started going, uh, it was the consistency, and that's another bit of advice maybe I could give
Yeah,
out there.
it's very
It's just
important.
be a
Yeah,
little consistent because I did
100%.
notice taking breaks, and that's why it does help maybe going to a local gym or different travel to local gyms and getting content in different atmospheres there. But waiting for another event, waiting to get media access, and it's not
That's
going
too
to be
long.
that easy. So
Yeah,
it's what do you do in between? And if you're only on the camera, one time per event, then that's not going to be enough
it's not good.
as well. You got to be,
Yeah,
like you're saying too, be consistent. You get better at your craft, and you'll develop your style even faster and figure that part out. Um,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
100%. So that's also very important in that time when you have that gap time until the next big event is that's your basically practice time. So let's say the next big MMA fight is in 3 months. In these 3 months, you better prepare for this big stage. And that's, I think a lot of people don't do that. They always jump on these big events, but then they're not really ready for that because in that time they didn't really practice. And I think that's why you're so good because you do that all the time. And with the local people in the local gyms, you can also experience. You can do different things, different poses, interviews, whatever. And that's the same like sometimes when I have guests who are my friends or I already had them a couple more times on the podcast, then you can also experience with a new flow or like new ideas what you can do and how you say it. But then for me, it's always like this. I'm anyway a person. I never overthink things. I just do it. Maybe that's my mentality. Maybe it's also from martial arts, but because when you like something, when it's your passion, I just have to do it. And at the beginning, I also thought because my English is not perfect, it's not my mother's language, and then you think, okay, but what if you mess it up and whatever? But then you just do it. And I also don't cut anything out. The only thing I cut out is the beginning on my voice podcast, the waiting time until my guest hops on the live stream. That's it. All the rest, even if I say something wrong, if there's whatever some problem, I don't cut anything out.
That actually that brings up kind of like a really scary moment for me that happened. So also one of the best times ever, right? So I get the opportunity to take photos for the Game Bred Fighting Championship, right?
Yeah,
So I'm like, I'm gonna meet Jorge. So totally cool, and I'm gonna get to work with his team. And while I'm there, uh, they were like, "Hey, you speak Spanish, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like you speak Spanish, but I speak Spanish with my family." You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like I didn't I'm not as fluent to where like I know MMA terminology. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how to say
hmm
weird naked choke in like Spanish. You know what I mean? Or triangle. Like so like in a sense. So they're like, "Hey, can you translate for this guy? He's going to be doing an interview on a podcast." And next thing you know, I'm a translator. So like I was
that's
like a
awesome.
man of many hats that day, and it was the coolest thing. I got to like help build the ring. I translated for someone. I took photos of the way in. Um, one of my photos that I got to take of him admiring the stage for the first time is still like traveling around. So it just makes me giddy, and it's like crazy, these opportunities you get, and it's all about, having faith in
100%, yeah.
yourself. Like you said, like that's scary. You know what I mean? Like getting to work with a team of that caliber in a sense, but at the same time, it's so thrilling and it's so fun. And it's like as scared and shaky as you are on the inside outside. I'm like, woo, you know what I mean? Like having fun, and
Yeah,
it's just be yourself, have fun, and I
100%.
think everybody's work will speak for themselves. You know what I mean?
True, yeah. And you just have to keep going, you have to push and if it's something you like, if it's your passion and you're really good at this, you will feel it and people tell you and then you 100% have to continue even more. And that's why I do that all with the podcast, because all these connections you have, I really had people from all sorts of job fields, from doctors, stunt people to, of course, martial artists and coaches. And it's sometimes I think if you really put in the work and then the effort, everything will come out. And then you have these special moments, like with me and John Hackman, like you said now, with taking pictures in a big event like that and connecting with special people. And then it's also interesting to see the journey from somebody when they start, and then you basically go with these fighters up to the biggest stages, up to championship fights in the UFC or so, and then you can say, okay, I was with that person from day one when he started, and now, and that's really cool. And I also really like your work. It's awesome. You put in a lot of time and effort, but that's why it really pays off, and that's why people want you. That's why people wanna do shootings with you or whatever they might have as an interest. Like you said, just with sometimes then interviews just happen. Sometimes things also happen, and then you still have to grab these opportunities. You can't think that long. Okay, it's maybe not your thing, but okay, I will do it anyway. And that's how I
Yeah,
approach it sometimes, and then something good always comes out.
absolutely. Learning is fun. You know what I mean? And it's,
100%.
in a sense, like, I don't really want to say put this with it, but like little fails, let's go with that. Little fails, right? Those little failures are just going to make you stronger and,
True.
make you better at your craft as well. Like in photography, for instance, dealing with lighting issues is going to be a huge thing. And then adapting and realizing at most events, they might all kind of look like this or whatnot. So then, maybe if I start shooting in the style, or I could adapt to the situation. Maybe I could do this actually really cool with what I got. And I think that was something that I learned really quick after like the first and second event. Were two different, like opposite, huge, drastic, like lighting styles. And like, you go to the first one, you get good
Yeah.
content, and then you get to the next one, and then you're like, yeah, yeah, oh, all right, now I get to think on the spot. All right, what do I want to do? You know what I mean? This place is
Mhm.
super bright. Now I can shoot real low. This is going to be super clear. I could
It's
use
awesome.
this lens right now. You know, um, having different lenses are going to help you get through if you are a photographer out there, or getting into cinema as well. Those lenses will definitely help you. Shooting in low light opportunities if you're trying to get into this craft, that's a big thing when you go to get a camera. Make sure you're getting something that is able to shoot in low light. That's going to help you
Yeah.
tremendously. Yeah.
No, I think all these things are very important, and especially like, equipment. But then sometimes, because for me, when I st still, I'm still doing this. The only upgrade I will have, like I already ordered it, I will have that ring light soon, and I will use this for my podcast. And also, it's good for my other content anyway, because there's like a stick, you can pull it up to like 5.3, and it's perfect because then you can also shoot your other videos, workouts, and stuff like that.
Oh,
That's why
perfect.
these ring lights on Amazon, they're really cool, and they're pretty, cheap. I mean, $30 for something like that
Yeah.
is honestly nothing. But at the beginning, because that's also something what people have in mind, and it blocks them to start. They think, oh, I don't have the best equipment or camera. And many camera people told me, and it's kind of the same what you say, and for the podcast, it's also the same. At the beginning, you don't need the best camera. You just need a camera and just
You're right.
try. And then you
You're
save
right.
a little bit money maybe, and then you can have the better version. With podcasts, it's the same. Like when
It's
people
a,
ask
it's
how to start, just do it. You just need your phone.
it's funny you say that. I still have like photos that fighters may have as their profile pic, right? And that's like one of the most gratifying thing is when they choose like your photo to be like their profile pic. Like that's it,
Yeah,
and it stays. Like again, I like from maybe 3 years ago, I have a couple of fighters that probably still have a profile pic that I took, and that camera I used
that's
on
nice.
that event was $300 on Facebook Marketplace.
You see.
You know what I mean? So it was like just getting the right settings, getting it right and whatnot. You're able to work with what you have for sure, um, and definitely it, especially don't, if I should go back and to giving advice, if you will, excuse me there. Um,
Sure, no problem.
don't worry about necessarily just totally filling up an arsenal of equipment just to get started. Like you said, you don't need that. Like
Yeah,
with your development, you will find the key items you need that will slowly make things maybe gradually better. But you don't need that to start whatsoever.
sure,
That's just a development process, and
yeah,
it's something that actually people even told me. Um, even sometimes when I think some of the photos are like, they're like, put that out because you're still
yeah,
growing,
exactly.
right? That's still an
Yeah,
extra photo out there and you're still growing and
100%.
people want to grow with you because they're growing.
True,
And I was
true.
like, good point. Maybe don't be as scared to put everything out there sometimes because I try
Yeah,
to get
definitely.
selective lately,
Yeah, and that's the problem, but that's when you get selectively, and in general, especially when people start, then they will never do anything. And the good thing is, and that's what I learned early on, what a lot of people told me, and I think you can implement it to everything. At the very beginning, content matters more than your surrounding, than the
Yeah.
light, than the equipment you have. Because we all know many
Yeah.
people, when they start something, they already have the best equipment and everything, but their content is honestly shit. And you can have the best camera, the
Hey,
best lighting, but if your content is not good, that's it. The equipment, of course, when you have a certain level, when you're a big person, like say like somebody like Joe Rogan, when he has his podcast, if he shoots the podcast with a cheap $300 camera, of course people will complain, will say, hey, you have so many million people following you, you do this, so understand. But everybody who starts, if they just use their phone, and if the content
yeah,
is good, people like the episodes, that's it, that's perfect, and the rest will come with the time. And I
you're
think
absolutely
with
right.
camera, it's probably the same.
You're absolutely right. When the content's there, it's what we're looking for. And that's something I actually, that was a hard thing when I started breaking this into MMA profession, right? When I started releasing the videos, if it wasn't like in perfect clarity,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't want to release it, right?
I
But then
understand, yeah.
it's like I talked to Dave and Dave looks at me and he's like, Eddie, did you get that knockout? Like put that right now. And I'm like, yeah, but like, the ref got in the way and like, and he's
Doesn't
like, put
matter.
that out now that you got the knockout. And I'm like, you're right. You know what I mean? It's side ringside view. People want to see that and they want it now. And
True,
it's like you said, Dave, love you, homie. Content is king. That's what he tells me every time.
true.
While we try to do at Fight Bananas is we try to keep producing. I try to keep editing the fighter photos and putting these fighter video contents out. And Dave keeps the podcast rolling and keeps building these
Yeah,
tremendous, strong relationships with them. And
100%.
that is something that we are grateful is that, we might be have started slow and got the ball rolling from there, but for sure, the relationships that we've built with these fighters are
It's
like ever
incredible.
going. It's not just
100%,
like a
yeah.
high five, thanks, and goodbye. It's like, cool, dude, I'll see you at Christmas, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just immediately feel
100%.
like your family. Like, um,
Yeah,
so it's pretty cool, and that's something that we're trying to build at Five Bananas is that one-on-one relationship with the fighters and the event coordinators and whatnot. And I think that's what's made us memorable with those people in such a short amount of time. It's just being ourselves, and that's what I need. I can't stress enough for everybody. Be yourself, man. Just do you. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Everybody wants uh,
To be, yeah,
individuality, and they want to see somebody different and do your own thing. So like, just be yourself, have fun. And I think it's going to take all of us uh, tremendously far for sure if we continue that
yeah.
route.
That is so true, and I mean, you're the best example for the people when it comes to that. And I saw that many times with different people when they start something. With my podcast, it was the same. It's always the best to be you because then really people want to see it because there's already too many copies, and it's also fake when you try to imitate a lot of people. If you have your own version, that's the best, and I think that's why you're so good, you're so successful, and I really like what you do, and it's awesome that you help so many fighters and in general so many
Thank you.
people. You're very welcome. Is there anything else you want to say? Maybe some last advices or something you want to promote?
Well, actually, huge shout out to some of my recent sponsors, if I may. Huge
Sure,
shout out to
definitely.
Funbox Orlando. My boys over there, Phil Rowe, UFC All Star. He's quite the man. Yeah, he's my homie. Always putting the smile on everybody's face. Make sure you give him a follow. And Pete Zachary, can't express
Yeah,
enough thank you for you guys sponsor. Actually, I should have started with my main man, Dave Van Auken, the man with the hair. Thank you, Dave, for everything for sure, homie.
yeah,
Fight
he's awesome.
Bananas.
Yeah,
You guys have taken me to the top, and you're my homie, brother, and we're gonna keep going. And huge shout out to my boy Colby at Project AMF. That's one of my newer sponsors that we've been working together. We've actually been in talk about maybe releasing a T-shirt with a mustache on it.
that
So
would be cool.
that
I
would
would
be
definitely
something to
take it.
help
Yeah,
me with like traveling for sure.
100%. Yeah,
And I think last but not least, the fight lawyer, Daniel Martinez. That's my cuz. So yeah, Daniel Martinez. If you guys need anybody, make sure you follow the fight lawyer. He'll take care of you. He's the fighter's lawyer. But other than that, besides that, for all of you out there on your grind, just go do it every day. Get out of bed. Maybe write a little list on a notepad. Write 5 things. Start scratching things off. It feels good. It feels good to accomplish these little things and scratch it off.
100%. Yeah,
You know what I mean? And maybe you write 5 and you only get 1 on the list. Don't let that bring you down. Tomorrow I want to get 2. You know what I mean? Or tomorrow I'm going to just go for the whole list. And just,
yeah,
like you said, content is king, and content is everything. And just, keep doing whatever you want. Just keep doing it. You're always
100%.
going to get great help from like the people in the community. The MMA community is super strong. You're definitely gonna always have fans and friends out there that'll take care of
Yeah,
you. And like again, I just can't commit more to that idea of just keep doing it. Just do, and you're gonna make
100%.
it for sure.
Yeah, no, that's so true, and I see that more and more with the time that I do the podcast, and I see that with yourself as well. I really appreciate you for taking the time, brother. And you see, I mean, you told me you're nervous maybe before that, but there was no sign of that, so maybe you're master of hiding it, but it was perfect. I really appreciate you for taking the time. I'm pretty sure we'll do also many more episodes in the future.
No, absolutely. You guys check me out. I should be at the next Game Bread 3 coming soon.
Awesome,
So make sure you guys follow Game Bread FC again. Shout out to
100%.
Jorge and Dean Tool and everybody at FRM as well for allowing me with huge opportunities. Yeah. Thank you, my
Of
man.
course, yeah.
We'll
You're very
talk
welcome. I
soon and,
appreciate you. 100%.
we'll,
Yeah.
we'll talk more again. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate you and have a great day, everybody, and talk to you soon. Bye.
All right, brother.